How does an uneducated peasant girl become the confidant of Christ? What kind of mercy is so overwhelming it can heal the deepest wounds of humanity? And why did Faustina's message of divine mercy spread like wildfire through a world torn apart by war and hatred? This is the story of Saint Faustina Kowalska, the nun who proved that God's mercy is greater than any sin, any suffering, any despair that humanity can endure. If you've ever felt too broken for God's love, let this story show you the boundless depths of divine compassion. And if God's mercy is truly greater than any suffering, what might it reveal in your own life? Join me for more forgotten stories of hope. Hit like and subscribe for more. On the 25th of August 1905, in the small Polish village of Głogowiec, a girl was born who would one day see the face of Jesus and live to tell the world about his mercy. Helena Kowalska entered a world of poverty and hardship, where survival was a daily struggle and dreams seemed like luxuries no one could afford. Helena was the third of 10 children born to Mariana and Stanisław Kowalski, devout Catholic peasants who worked the land with their hands and trusted in God's providence for everything else. Their tiny farmhouse barely contained the growing family, and there was never enough food, never enough warmth, never enough of anything except faith and love. From her earliest years, Helena showed signs of the spiritual intensity that would mark her entire life. While other children played with dolls and games, she would kneel for hours before the family's simple wooden crucifix, lost in prayer that seemed to transport her beyond the cramped confines of their cottage. She was different from the other children, her mother later recalled. When she prayed, it was as if she could see something we couldn't see. At age 7, Helena experienced her first mystical encounter. While attending Mass in the local church, she saw the infant Jesus appearing above the tabernacle, smiling at her with eyes full of love. The vision lasted only moments, but it left Helena with an unshakable conviction that God had a special plan for her life. Her parents, struggling to feed their large family, made the painful decision to send 16-year-old Helena to Warsaw to work as a domestic servant. With tears streaming down her face, the young girl kissed her family goodbye and set off for the capital city, carrying nothing but a small bundle of clothes and an enormous faith in divine providence. Warsaw in 1921 was a city rebuilding itself after the devastation of World War I. For a peasant girl with no education beyond basic reading and writing, the options were limited. She could work as a maid, a shop assistant, or in one of the city's factories. Helena chose domestic service, believing it would allow her more time for prayer. But God had been preparing Helena for something far greater than a life of quiet service. She was about to receive a call that would change not just her destiny, but the spiritual landscape of the entire world. The vision that would transform everything was waiting just around the corner. For 3 years, Helena worked as a housemaid in Warsaw, sending most of her meager wages home to support her family while dreaming of entering religious life. But each time she approached a convent, she was turned away, either because she lacked the required dowry or because her peasant background didn't meet their social standards. The rejection was heartbreaking, but Helena persevered. She continued working, saving every possible penny, and praying that God would open a door for her vocation. She attended daily Mass whenever possible and spent her free hours in prayer, feeling increasingly drawn to a life of complete consecration to God. The turning point came on a summer evening in 1925. Helena had gone with friends to a dance, a rare moment of recreation in her austere life. But as the music played and couples whirled around the dance floor, something extraordinary happened. Suddenly, above the dancers, Helena saw Jesus Christ himself. His face was marked with indescribable sorrow, his eyes filled with pain that seemed to encompass all the suffering of humanity. When he spoke, his voice penetrated straight to her heart. "How long shall I put up with you? And how long will you keep putting me off?" The vision was so overwhelming that Helena immediately left the dance, went straight to the Cathedral of St. Stanisław, and prostrated herself before the Blessed Sacrament. There, in the silence of the empty church, she heard Jesus speak again. "Go immediately to Warsaw. You will enter a convent there." Helena didn't hesitate. The next morning, she quit her job, gathered her few possessions, and took the train to Warsaw with complete trust in divine providence. She had no idea which convent she was supposed to enter, no money for a dowry, and no connections to ease her way. All she had was absolute faith that Jesus would fulfill his promise. Walking through the streets of Warsaw with her small suitcase, Helena prayed for guidance. When she saw the convent of the Sisters of Divine Mercy, something in her heart told her this was the place. She knocked on the door and asked to speak with the Mother Superior. "I want to enter your community," Helena said simply. "Jesus told me to come here." Mother Michael Morozuska studied the young peasant girl standing before her. Despite Helena's simple clothes and obvious poverty, there was something in her eyes, a depth of sincerity and spiritual maturity that impressed the experienced religious superior. "We have no room for new postulants right now," Mother Michael said gently, "and you have no dowry." "Jesus will provide," Helena replied with unshakable confidence. Somehow, Mother Michael found herself saying yes. On the 1st of August 1925, Helena Kowalska entered the congregation of the Sisters of Divine Mercy as a postulant. She took the religious name Sister Faustina, meaning the fortunate one. But saying yes to Jesus would mean saying no to every comfort she had ever known. Convent life was everything Faustina had dreamed of, and more demanding than she had imagined. The Sisters of Divine Mercy lived a life of prayer, work, and service to the poor, sick, and abandoned. Faustina threw herself into this routine with characteristic intensity, working in the garden, the kitchen, and the porter's lodge with the same devotion she brought to prayer. Her fellow sisters saw nothing extraordinary about the quiet Polish girl who performed her duties without complaint and spoke little about herself. Faustina kept her mystical experiences private, sharing them only with her confessors and superiors when obedience required it. But the visions were becoming more frequent and more intense. Jesus appeared to her regularly, sometimes as the suffering Christ of the Passion, sometimes as the risen Lord surrounded by light. Each encounter deepened Faustina's understanding of divine love and her own calling to spread devotion to God's mercy. The vision that would change everything came on the 22nd of February, 1931, when Faustina was 26 years old. She was alone in her cell, praying before a simple wooden crucifix, when suddenly Jesus appeared to her with unprecedented clarity and beauty. He was dressed in a white garment, with his right hand raised in blessing and his left hand touching his chest. From his heart came two large rays of light, one red, one pale. His face was radiant with love and compassion that seemed to encompass all of humanity's pain and hope. "Paint an image according to the pattern you see," Jesus told her, with the signature, "Jesus, I trust in you. I desire that this image be venerated, first in your chapel, and then throughout the world." When Faustina protested that she didn't know how to paint, Jesus replied, "Not with a brush, but with your suffering and prayer. You will proclaim that whoever venerates this image will never perish." Jesus explained the meaning of the rays. The pale ray stands for the water, which makes souls righteous. The red ray stands for the blood, which is the life of souls. These two rays issued forth from the very depths of my tender mercy, when my agonized heart was opened by a lance on the cross. But this was only the beginning. Over the next few years, Jesus would reveal to Faustina an entire devotion to divine mercy, including special prayers, promises, and a feast day that would transform how millions of people understood God's love. The simple Polish nun was about to become the secretary of divine mercy itself. As Faustina's visions continued, Jesus began dictating to her what he called the greatest attribute of God, his infinite mercy. These weren't abstract theological discussions, but intimate conversations between the Creator and his chosen messenger, conversations that Faustina faithfully recorded in her diary. "Write this," Jesus told her. Before I come as a just judge, I first open wide the door of my mercy. He who refuses to pass through the door of my mercy must pass through the door of my justice. The centerpiece of the devotion was the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, a prayer that Jesus taught Faustina step by step. Using ordinary rosary beads, the chaplet offered the Father the body and blood, soul and divinity of your dearly beloved Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. In atonement for our sins and those of the whole world, Jesus promised extraordinary graces to those who would pray this chaplet. Whoever will recite it will receive great mercy at the hour of death. Even if there were a sinner most hardened, if he were to recite this chaplet only once, he would receive grace from my infinite mercy. But the devotion wasn't just about individual salvation. It was about transforming humanity's relationship with God. Jesus revealed to Faustina that mercy was his greatest attribute, stronger than justice, more powerful than any sin, deeper than any human suffering. I desire that the whole world know my infinite mercy. He told her, I desire to grant unimaginable graces to those souls who trust in my mercy. Faustina also received the Divine Mercy Novena, 9 days of prayer with specific intentions for different groups of people: sinners, suffering souls, lukewarm Catholics, pagans, heretics, and others. Each day focused on a particular aspect of God's mercy and humanity's need for divine compassion. Perhaps most significantly, Jesus asked for a special feast day to be established, the Sunday after Easter, now known as Divine Mercy Sunday. On this day, he promised, the soul that will go to confession and receive Holy Communion shall obtain complete forgiveness of sins and punishment. As Faustina recorded these revelations in her diary, she was simultaneously living them out through her own suffering. She had developed tuberculosis, and the disease was slowly consuming her lungs. But instead of complaining, she offered every pain, every difficulty, every moment of weakness as a sacrifice for the salvation of souls. I want to be completely transformed into your mercy and to be your living reflection, she prayed. May the greatest of all divine attributes, that of your unfathomable mercy, pass through my heart and soul to my neighbor. How do you trust in God's mercy when life seems merciless? As Faustina's tuberculosis progressed, her physical suffering became a crucial part of her spiritual mission. Jesus had revealed to her that souls are saved not just through his historical passion, but through the ongoing participation of his mystical body in that redemptive suffering. I want you to be my bride, not only in joy, but also in suffering, Jesus told her. Be willing to accept everything that I send you with love and joy. Faustina embraced this calling with remarkable courage. As her illness worsened, leaving her weak, feverish, and often in intense pain, she saw each symptom as an opportunity to unite herself more closely with Christ's passion. She offered her suffering for specific intentions for the conversion of sinners, for the dying, for priests, for her homeland of Poland. But Faustina's trials weren't only physical. The mystical experiences that had become the center of her life were met with skepticism and sometimes outright disbelief from church authorities. Some confessors suggested that her visions came from the devil rather than God. Others dismissed them as the fantasies of an overwrought imagination. The most painful trial came when Faustina's own religious superiors, responding to criticism from church officials, forbade her to continue promoting the Divine Mercy devotion. For a period of several months, she was told to stop praying the chaplet, stop talking about the visions, and stop encouraging others to trust in God's mercy. This prohibition was agony for Faustina, who knew with absolute certainty that her revelations came from Jesus himself. But she submitted in perfect obedience, demonstrating that authentic mystical experience always includes humble acceptance of legitimate authority. My Jesus. She prayed during this dark period, if this work is not yours, then let it disappear. But if it is yours, I beg you to bless it. The restriction was eventually lifted when Faustina's confessors recognized that her visions produced only good fruit, greater holiness, deeper prayer, more perfect charity. But the experience had taught her an essential lesson about the relationship between mystical gifts and institutional church. During her final years, as tuberculosis ravaged her body, Faustina experienced some of her most profound visions. Jesus showed her souls being saved through the Divine Mercy devotion, revealed the spiritual state of various individuals, and continued to emphasize the urgency of spreading trust in God's mercy before His second coming. Tell souls that I am love and mercy itself. He repeated again and again. When a soul approaches me with trust, I fill it with such an abundance of graces that it cannot contain them within itself, but radiates them to other souls. On the 5th of October 1938, at the age of 33, the same age as Jesus when he died, Sister Faustina breathed her last. Her final words were a prayer. Jesus, I trust in you. The peasant who had owned nothing would soon possess the hearts of millions. Within hours of Faustina's death, extraordinary things began happening at the convent. Sisters reported sensing her presence, receiving answers to prayers through her intercession, and experiencing unusual peace in her former cell. Word of these phenomena quickly spread beyond the convent walls. Father Michael Sopochko, Faustina's spiritual director, who had initially commissioned the first Divine Mercy image, began collecting testimonies about miraculous healings and conversions attributed to her intercession. Despite his initial skepticism about some of her visions, he had become convinced of their authenticity and was determined to promote the devotion she had received. The timing of Faustina's death proved providential. Europe was sliding toward World War II, and the message of divine mercy would soon be desperately needed by a world torn apart by unprecedented suffering and evil. As Nazi armies invaded Poland and the Holocaust began to unfold, people clung to the promise that God's mercy was greater than any human cruelty. Polish resistance fighters carried images of divine mercy into battle. Concentration camp prisoners prayed the chaplet Faustina had received. Families separated by war found comfort in trusting that God's mercy would somehow triumph over the darkness engulfing their world. But the devotion also faced significant obstacles. In 1959, the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith issued a notification prohibiting the promotion of Divine Mercy devotion based on Faustina's revelations. Church authorities were concerned about theological inaccuracies in some popular presentations of the devotion and questioned the authenticity of the visions themselves. This prohibition lasted for nearly 20 years, during which the devotion went underground but never disappeared. Priests continued to promote it discreetly. Lay people kept praying the chaplet privately, and stories of miraculous interventions through divine mercy continued to multiply. The breakthrough came when Cardinal Karol Wojtyła of Krakow, who would later become Pope John Paul II, became interested in Faustina's cause. As Archbishop of the diocese where she had lived and died, he was familiar with her reputation for holiness and had access to extensive documentation about her life and visions. The woman the Church had silenced would soon silence her critics forever. In 1978, Cardinal Wojtyła became Pope John Paul II, and one of his first priorities was to rehabilitate the Divine Mercy devotion. He ordered a thorough reinvestigation of Faustina's writings and spiritual experiences, leading to the lifting of the Vatican prohibition in the same year. Sister Faustina's entire life was imbued with a profound devotion to Divine Mercy, the Pope declared. Her mystical experiences had a markedly Christocentric and ecclesial character. The vindication was complete, but the greatest triumph was still to come. On the 30th of April 2000, Divine Mercy Sunday, Pope John Paul II canonized Sister Faustina before more than 200,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square. It was the largest canonization ceremony in Vatican history, and the Pope used the occasion to officially establish Divine Mercy Sunday for the entire Catholic Church. Today, my joy is truly great in presenting the life and witness of Sister Faustina Kowalska to the whole Church as a gift of God for our time. The Pope declared, Divine Mercy. This is the Easter gift that the Church receives from the risen Christ and offers to humanity. The canonization marked the extraordinary journey of a simple Polish nun from obscurity to universal recognition. But more than personal vindication was involved. the Catholic Church was officially embracing a devotion that had already spread spontaneously throughout the world. The Divine Mercy image had been reproduced millions of times in countless languages. The chaplet was being prayed in churches, homes, hospitals, and prisons on every continent. Divine Mercy Sunday had become one of the most popular celebrations in the Catholic liturgical calendar. But perhaps most significantly, the message of Divine Mercy was providing hope to people facing the unique challenges of the modern world. In an age of anxiety, depression, and spiritual confusion, Faustina's simple message, "Jesus, I trust in you," offered an anchor of peace in the storms of contemporary life. Medical professionals reported that patients who prayed the Divine Mercy Chaplet showed improved outcomes in treatment. Therapists found that trust in God's mercy helped clients overcome guilt, shame, and despair. Prison chaplains discovered that the devotion transformed hardened criminals into men and women of peace. The scientific age had tried to eliminate mystery, but Saint Faustina had brought mystery back, not as superstition, but as profound truth about the nature of divine love. Her message was simultaneously ancient and urgently contemporary. God's mercy is always greater than human sin. Divine love is always stronger than human hatred. And hope is always more powerful than despair. Today, millions of people around the world begin each day with Faustina's simple prayer, "Jesus, I trust in you." In a world that often seems merciless, her witness continues to proclaim that mercy is the ultimate reality, the final word, the deepest truth about God's relationship with humanity. The peasant girl who saw the face of Jesus had become the face of divine mercy for the modern world. Her legacy reminds us that no one is too poor, too simple, or too broken to become God's instrument of healing for a wounded world. Saint Faustina Kowalska proved that the greatest revelations often come to the humblest hearts, and that God's mercy reaches exactly as far as human need extends, which is to say, infinitely. In times when trust seems impossible, when mercy feels absent, when hope appears dead, her voice still whispers across the decades with unshakable confidence, "Jesus, I trust in you."